122.55. Now, Gerry Hutch, of course, will be in competition with Malachy Steenson, or is that the other way around? Malachy joins us. Malachy, hi, how are you?
Good afternoon, Niall.
Firstly, Malachy, do you think he will actually run for election, or is this all nonsense?
Well, I think that currently, as it stands, we have to take that face value that he is running. But I suppose we won't know till all the nominations are in, and we can't get the nominations in until such time as the government stops the misinformation and actually tells us when the election is.
Well, they're saying now the 29th of November. That's the latest, because the finance bill has to go through first.
And Simple Simon has been telling us it won't be till next March as well.
But he's clarified last night.
In November.
He did clarify last night it will be in 2024. That's what he said last night.
Why is it when somebody on my side of the fence says something, it's suddenly misinformation, yet this government continues to lie after lie, and it's, it's a clarification.
Well, I did say in July, I said on the show in July, they'll have the election, I said at the end of November, when the weather is really bad, because they'll hope it'll be a low turnout. And that's what they're hoping for, of course.
Because the political class in this country now despise the people. They actually despise democracy. And they have no concern
Well, clearly, by putting Helen McEntee in the position of deputy leader, they clearly have contempt for the electorate, because they know she's not popular.
Well, it's not alone is she not popular. She's not even capable.
No.
Which should be the criteria. We've moved totally from a meritocracy, which is the way the world should be run, into one of, ticking all these boxes.
But Malachy, the very fact they put Helen McEntee in as deputy leader, does that not show you they don't care what people think, because they're so cocksure they're going to get re-elected again? They know there's nothing they can do to upset that, because let's be clear, Sinn Féin are imploding. So they know at this stage, both of them, Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil, they're both going to get elected again. They know that.
Well, and why do we know that? We only know that now because the opinion polls are telling us that. Now, there's nobody I meet on the streets who says that they're voting for either.
Yeah, Malachy, I went through all this. When I ran for European election, everybody I met, we're looking for change, particularly in working class areas where you're running, for example, that we're looking for change, and then come the election day, they either don't bother their arse voting, they're not registered to vote, or they just walk in, they go, I've Stockholm syndrome, I'll vote for Fine Gael.
Well, in fact, in my constituency, Niall, they did return me to the council.
Well, they did on this occasion. Well, Malachy, they didn't on the last occasion. The last occasion you ran, they didn't.
No, on the last 3 or 4 occasions, they didn't. But there is a wind of change out there. Now, if you just look at Fine Gael, 18 of their current TDs are not standing. It would be an incredible feat of, I'm not sure what, if 18 new incumbents from Fine Gael replace those. I think that's, and if that's what happens in this country, well then,
okay.
We're totally finished.
Well, I already spoke to Noel Rock there recently. I know Noel Rock is running again. And by the way, I like Noel, and I think he's a good politician. My only problem with Noel is he's with Fine Gael. So, from that point of view, I couldn't endorse him. But in saying that, I do like Noel.
Noel would be a typical Fine Gael, or a typical politician, in that it doesn't really matter what party he's in. He will say whatever he's told to say.
No, I don't think so. Noel is good. I've spoken to Noel many times over the years, both on the air and off the air, and I find him to be a man of his word. I find him to be a good guy. I'm just disappointed he's running with Fine Gael, because
and look at the way he went and he voted for, when he was in Leinster House, he voted for everything that Fine Gael told him to vote for.
Well, that's because he's under the whip. Anyway, back to this idea of criminal convictions. If I look at the list, by the way, I have a list here on the screen in front of me. I can go right back to people who spent time in jail, including Mick Wallace, Ivor Callaghan, Ned O'Keefe. By the way, these are all Fianna Fáil. Ray Burke, Francis O'Brien. Now, there's a litany, of course, of Sinn Féiners as well who've had a conviction.
Well, hold on, there is a difference, Niall. The people that you've just listed there were in as a result of James Heffern and Drunken. Criminal convictions.
Yeah.
People, and I despise the provisionals, but the people in the provisionals and people like myself have convictions for political activity, not for self for doing something for yourself.
There's other ones there like Tony Gregory. I'm just Tony Gregory, Joe Costello, all those people. That was criminal, or that was political activity. Desi Ellis, of course, Sinn Féin, Martin Ferris. I can go on. The list goes on and on. So, by the way, there's nothing strange in the fact that we have politicians, elected politicians in this country with criminal convictions. So, what are they going on about? What's the big deal then with Gerry Hutch Now, Gerry Hutch, as we know, hasn't had a conviction since the 1980s, although he has been suspected of being involved, obviously, in significant armed robberies and settling tax bill.
You know, and I know that people can be suspected of all kinds of things. Gerry Hutch went through a criminal trial and was acquitted. So he's not guilty. We don't have...
We know that, yeah.
Oh, well, he's technically or whatever. The law says he's innocent.
Yeah. Oh, no, we know that. And he did, by the way, he did settle a tax bill with the revenue commissioners and the criminal assets bureau at $3 million. Yeah.
So, well, you know, there are many, many people who settled tax bills. And if we look at the precursor to the CAB, we had the amnesties where the great and the good of this country were able to bring in their money from Ansbacher and effectively do as CAB does. You know, it's funny that somebody who robs a bank or is alleged to have robbed a bank is a criminal, yet somebody who evades it through planning corruption or whatever and gets a chunk of money, that they're somehow less of a criminal. You know, it's the same thing.
In relation to Gerry Hutch, I mean, look, his name is quite synonymous in the city centre. His name would be quite synonymous in the news because of the Hutch-Kinahan feud over the last few years and everything that's happened around that, and the individuals who have died because of that particular feud. Now, I'm not saying that Gerry Hutch is involved in that. I'm not suggesting that. But in saying he's part of the family, obviously, or head of the family, I imagine. So, you know, for a lot of people, they're kind of going, well, hold on, you know, this is big stuff here now. You know what I mean? Can we trust Gerry Hutch? I mean, look, he's clearly a clever man. There's no doubt about it. I've no doubt he's a clever man. Malachy, there? Have I lost you?
Yeah, I just lost you there for a second. Yeah. I have you there now.
So, Malachy, what was your conviction for, by the way?
Well, I was convicted of a number of offences in relation to really a Mickey Mouse convictions. Because that's all they could get, I suppose. It related to a stolen car during a particular period. And
did you steal a car? Did you steal a car?
Well, I was convicted of being in possession of a stolen car.
How long ago was that?
I think that was in 1987. Oh, okay. Actually, it was in 1987 during the middle of a long time ago. Very volatile time in our country.
Yeah. Okay, we get the gist. Okay, so, I mean, well, then how do you look at this? Do you believe that should be some sort of restriction that if you have a criminal conviction in the last 10 years, let's say, for example, that you can't run for election?
No, it's up to the people. And anybody in this country, any citizen of this country is entitled to put themselves before the people, and the people are the determiners of whether somebody is fit to serve them. And that's simply it. And like you mentioned Gerry Hutch there. Gerry is well respected in the inner city, and he'll certainly rattle cages. Now, do you think he's doing this wrong? Obviously,
but do you think he's doing this purposely to put Sinn Féin leader Mary Lou out of a seat? Do you think that's why he's doing it? Because, of course, I mentioned earlier on, you know, about Jonathan Dowdall, who gave evidence against him, which turned out to be false, by the way. But I mean, would that be the reason that?
No, I think he does have genuine concerns about the way society is going and the way the inner city is being run by the politicians who are there currently. Now, as I say, I hope he polls below me, or in fact that the two of us take a seat in this next Dáil, which would be fabulous, I think, for the people of the inner city.
I mean, who else are you running against there? Of course, I mentioned Nessa Horrigan, Gary Gannon, Pascal Donoghue. I mean, Pascal will probably take a seat, won't he? More than likely.
Well, Pascal, he'd probably take a seat,
because
but
to be fair, he's not the worst out of them, is he?
Well, you see, there we're going down to now, he's not the worst. He stands for a political party who have stood over the destruction of this country. So he's inseparable for that. You know, you can't say, oh, well, he's a lovely guy, we'll put him in so he can continue to wreck the country. You know, and that's what we continually do. Like you said about Noel Rock there, for instance. He's a member of Fine Gael. They're the government. They destroyed the country, along with Fianna Fáil and the Greens, backed up by the Shinners and everybody else on the left. You know, so we need to have politicians who actually say what they think and think what they say. And we don't have that, you know. And I would love to see myself and Gerard walk in the doors of Leinster House and take our seats. Failing that,
would be interesting, wouldn't it?
I'm certainly going to be walking in, you know, and it's who I knock out, and I think that's what maybe at the back.
But it is. I mean, it is a difficult constituency because you've got big players there, like for example Pascal Donoghue and Mary Lou MacDonald. Now, obviously, Sinn Féin have done a lot of damage to themselves over the last, particularly the last 3 or 4 weeks, which is certainly showing up at the polls. I mean, their poll numbers are just crashing.
But she will still hold a seat. She will still hold a seat. But if you look at Niall, and you look at last night up front on RTE, and you look at any of the prime time or up fronts on RTE, watch and just do this yourself. See how many times a TD from Dublin Central is on the panel. We had the clown Gannon on last night.
Well, okay, you don't like Gerry, that's fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, nor do the people in the inner city, for example.
We'll find out. We'll find out in the elections whether they do or not. They clearly did the last time. Well, they clearly did the last time because he got elected. So let's not focus on one person.
Hold on. Well, let's be clear. He shifted his base in the last local elections from the inner city part to the Cabra Glasnevin part. So he's elected by the woke liberals. The people who will vote for the Greens or whoever,
Yeah, I wouldn't be a fan of Gerry, but there are people out there who obviously are a fan of him and vote for him. But it'd be interesting to see if he gets elected this time.
Because RTE and the media have decided that Dublin Central is the key battleground in this war that we're engaged in. And they see that there's a huge threat to Gannon and Horrigan's seats, and that's why they're promoting them.
Well, I would certainly see a huge threat to Horrigan because the Green Party, I mean, they're irrelevant these days. You know what I mean?
But Niall, if you look at the inner city, it's a mixture of all different, and Dublin Central, a mixture of all different areas.
So where would Gerry Hutch fit in there? I mean, I'm trying.
Well, he will do quite well in the northeast inner city, in Sheriff Street, Sean McDermott Street, that whole inner city area, and then there would be an anti-establishment vote that may, which would come to me. I would hope,
Malachy, stay there with me just for a second.